Hello and welcome to the Celtic End podcast. My name is Stephen Ray. I'm your host and I'm joined this week, as I am every week, with Kevin McColgan. Kevin, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Good this week for a change, positive.
This is going to be the first positive podcast in about 8 to 12 weeks, I think.
Took our time, didn't we? But we got there
eventually. Did we not? I think did we not have a decent one when we drew 2 each with Lille, and then I think we might have had the Motherwell game straight after it where we won 4-1. From memory, I'm trying to remember.
That's the Lille game, then the semi-final, and then
that's what it was.
And then we thought this was the corner turned, and then it was a false dawn, and
turns out the indicator was on, and then it went off.
There's some drivers like that I'd like to.
Aye. But before we get started, we are part of the massive quadruple treble Celtic State of Mind podcast weekend this weekend. At the moment, we're still waiting on our time slot when we'll be on. So, Paul John Dykes, get your finger out. No, he's dealing with about 19 or 20 different podcasts on the show. So he's running 2 12-hour podcasts. Each podcast is getting an hour, plus Celtic State of Mind have got their own stuff. Then they're doing the build-up. So I think they're going 8 in the morning to 8 at night on Saturday, and then 8 in the morning to 8 at night on the Sunday. So some lucky bugger's going to get the aftermatch stuff, sort of 6 to 8. So good luck to whoever that is. I don't think it'll be us. I don't think that suits us, the times, to be honest. It doesn't suit me anyway. If anybody's looking to donate, he's got a GoFundMe page going, and he's also looking for people to sponsor each podcast, each hour, which is... he's got the details on that, so if you just message Celtic State of Mind Twitter account or even Paul John Dykes' personal Twitter page, it'll be all good. So I'm hoping we fit in there somewhere, and we'll have something to come up with. I think most people might be just doing a preview and talking team lineups and whatever. I want us to do something a wee bit different. We're probably going to look back over the previous 3 treble winning sides, and me and you'll discuss in private. Don't want to give too much away what we're going to do, and hopefully that'll fill our hour, and we'll probably spend 5-10 minutes on the upcoming game as well. So before we went on, we were just talking movies and movie themes and stuff like that. So you said you're a bit of a comedy buff. You like
comedy. I'm not into scary films whatsoever.
I'm not much a comedy. I'm not much of a scary movie. I hate horrors. I remember we came out. I remember going to see the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the kind of remake one, around about 2003, and we went down to, I think it was the Odeon at the time, down at Springfield Quay in Glasgow.
Well.
So I went in there, watched it, scared the living shit out of me. And how the movie ends, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but the movie ends with the mad psycho chainsaw guy basically chasing some chick in the rain, and I mean it was absolutely pouring the rain. So, and that's kind of the last thing you're left with in your mind. And then we come to cinema, and what's it like outside? It is fucking chucking it down, man. It was dark, and it was quite late as well, and half the car park was empty, and I was like, oh my god, we need to run to the car, man, this is scary. Honestly, I'm a pussy, man, when it comes to horror movies.
No, I don't like them at all, man. It's just, I remember watching Signs when I was in school, and it scared the shit out of me with Mel Gibson and this weird thing coming out the fucking bushes. You know what I mean? I'm just... I might say just before, I've actually got it in front of me, and I might actually fucking mention it. The quadruple treble charity weekend for the Celtic State of Mind. I might have mentioned the 4 charities I've put on my phone here. So there's Children's First, Scotland's National Children's Charity. There is Food Facts and Friends. I think that's a local charity in the Fife area for Paul John Dykes. St Rock's FC, which is their Talk charity, which is I think it's to do with sort of, people going through most mental health issues and stuff like that. And the fourth one is H4th, I think it is. I could be getting that wrong. I'm just the pictures no the clearest I've got here, but like I said, if you want to get involved with the charities, but just before we got into the Celtic, back to the movie stuff, we've started trying to, as a family, me, my wife, my 2 kids, it's too easy on a Saturday night where the kids just go upstairs, play PlayStation, and do whatever they're doing, playing online with their pals, and me and the missus just to sit, I'm watching football and she's watching fucking X Factor or whatever nonsense is on at the minute. So we've kind of made the last few months, we've kind of
Saturday night, 9 o'clock, movie night, pick a movie. But we picked one a few weeks ago, The Waterboy. I mean, I've seen The Waterboy 100 times. Honestly, that is one of my favourite movies of all time. It's so good. But there was a night, a couple of weeks ago where Sean and Julie weren't really feeling well, so it was me and my youngest, and I was really struggling to find something, and I thought, and I seen White Chicks, and I'm like, I think it's a fucking I don't know if you should be watching that, but Michael's 10 and a half, and I thought, fuck it, we'll go for it, man, honestly. See the bit in the toilet?
Oh.
Well, it's where she's got the shits. Man, my boy was literally rolling about the floor in tears, man, with laughter. It's so good. But what's your favourite comedy?
Oh, that's a tough question. I've got to... one of my personal favourites, I think it's one I've already said to you, is Monty Python Life of Brian.
Oh man,
it's a real classic for me. You know, it's brilliant.
Do you know apparently seeing the biggest dickest scene?
Yeah,
the Roman Emperor guy.
Sorry, it makes me laugh.
Apparently the guys weren't told like the script for that part. And apparently they were told that they weren't going to get paid if they laughed. So when he starts hitting out with that, it was merely a natural reaction. There's a bit in it where he walks up to the two centurions when he says he has a wife, you know, and you see one of them kind of just shake his head as if to say, "Oh no, what the fuck's he going to say?" Oh man,
that's one of my favourites.
It's hard to argue with that. I mean,
I think the bit with your man's selling the stuff, and he goes, "Are you the Judean People's Front?" It's like, fuck off, I know them. We're the People's Front of Judea. There's a couple of reaction channels on YouTube that have started sort of doing the Monty Python stuff, and there's a couple of guys that have done the that Life of Brian, and they're honestly, I think they're American, and they're in bits, man. Just watching it, it's hilarious. It's so funny. It's so stupid. Like one bit where like a spaceship comes out of nowhere. I
just think it's hilarious that you've got men playing women playing men at the Stone Age. Where the guy's getting stoned to death. And you get the guy wanting to be called Loretta because he wants to have babies, and you're like, do you know what, that's shot right now. You know, it's just so in tune with what's going on in the world right now. It's mental. I'm not going to comment any further on stuff like that before I go down a fucking rabbit hole. But it's not my favourite. This isn't my favourite comedy, but it's one of these comedies that if I ever see it, I've got to stop what I'm doing and I watch it. And it's another Adam Sandler one that's Don't Mess with the Zohan. Have you ever seen it?
I've never seen that one, though.
You have to watch it. So I'll tell you what, watch it and come back to me. It's mental. It's a bit an Israeli counter-terrorist guy. He wants to go to America to become a hairdresser.
Jesus. What the fuck?
It's so bonkers. It's so funny, honestly. Anyway, we better go on to talking about Celtic. See, we were in a good mood this week.
So sometimes you need to go lead straight in with the negative. We had a bit of a laugh there. So.
I know. So we'll cover a wee bit about Lille. We'll cover the Kilmarnock game. Talk a wee bit about the AGM. We've got Twitter questions, and then we've got this week's quiz where you ask me the questions this week.
Yep.
And then before the end, we'll just cover for a couple of minutes, obviously, the potential for a quadruple treble this weekend. I think it's kind of get lost a wee bit in the madness of the last sort of 12, 13 games, and it seems to have felt as if it's lost a bit of importance. But we're going to just briefly look back over what I call the greatest treble winning side in Scottish football history, and that's the 2016-17. We'll talk a wee bit, just a couple of wee highlights for that, and then I've got a wee montage bit of music with commentary over it to finish off the show, and we'll end it at that. And please stick about for that, because if it doesn't put hairs, and if I come back here next, then you're not human. Or you're not a Celtic fan, that's for sure. So last week we went into the Lille game. I predicted a victory. I don't know why I predicted a victory, but I just thought this had to come to an end at some point. I wasn't expecting the team. What was your thoughts when you seen the team come up?
Surprised, to put one word on it. Certainly didn't see Hazard being named in the team sheet.
Nope.
That was the biggest surprise for me. I thought you were going to see the Soro and the Turnbulls and stuff.
I don't think Barkas had done, apart from the free kick that he might have been able to do a wee bit better with in the Milan game. I just didn't see a reason to drop him. You've brought him back in for 2 and then he's out for 2. I just thought it was a crazy decision. But anyway, sorry.
No, I would say that was the biggest, surprise for me. But I was really looking forward to seeing Soro and Turnbull just to see how they would be, and I thought the two of them had see them play. Sorry, and I thought the two of them had a great game, absolutely great game. Soro edged it for me. I thought he was man of the match.
Yeah,
absolutely. Covered every blade of grass, shut out a lot of the movement. Did the kind of boiler room stuff that doesn't really go noticed. Just got on with it, and I thought it was a great game.
I think positionally, he was outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he once caught beyond, the ball going on and caught on the break. I mean, he just seemed to be where you had to be. I think it was almost Scott Brown under Rodgers' first 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm. Dictating it and just...
just breaking up play, just playing in a sort of 20-yard box almost, sort of between the defence and the midfield, not going beyond the halfway line. Sorry, I've a bit of wind here. I lose my voice. I've got a bottle of water there. But it wasn't just that. It was when he picked the ball up, he was playing passes between midfielders. I mean, really breaking the lines with a single pass. I just thought his performance was, one, it was a shock how good he was, and 2, you're kind of, why has it taken so long for this guy? Surely he can't be a bad trainer. I just find it absolutely mind-boggling that this is this guy's first full 90 minutes.
Because he just had bundles of energy, and he was always looking to pass forward, never go backwards, and it's just refreshing to see that from a midfielder, just to go forward and, as you say, try the odd dangerous pass that might not have been tried under Brown, maybe playing the noun with it, maybe going sideways, it was going forward, and when he was tackling, he was getting the ball, but he was getting the man as well and letting him know he was there.
I don't think he went to ground. The only time I remember going to ground was more to block that shot that went past the post.
And that was a great block.
That was a brilliant block. And he's tiny. He's absolutely tiny. And apparently he'd said, I don't remember the comment. I don't remember his interview when he came to the club. But apparently he was probably Jeremy Kyle asked him, what kind of player are you, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Now, usually ask that questions to people we don't know much about. And apparently he responded, whoever the interviewer was, that he was a kind of Kanté style player. Mm-hmm. And you can see that. I mean, I'm not putting him up there with Kanté yet, but it's just got that style. Doesn't he go roughly or rashly into tackles? He just has a knack of winning the ball, being in the right place at the right time. Just killing space.
An absolute engine.
It was tremendous to watch. It was so frustrating at the same time that you're like, we've got this guy and had this guy on the books, and it's took almost a last throw of the dice for Lennon to even think about playing him. I just find it nuts, to be honest, and a wee bit annoying. But the first goal, Celtic take the lead. I'm trying to remember the goal now, actually.
Turnbull corner for Julian Header.
That's it. Right away I've tweeted, that's Christie off the corners.
Great ball. There's no two ways about it. And
it's very similar to Julian's goal against Lazio, wasn't it?
Exactly. And it's probably the same. It's front post and just a glancing header and absolutely great. And it's refreshing to see a corner go past the first man and get into the box and get into the danger area.
Yeah.
And it's Turnbull again. He had a great game.
Yeah, definitely.
Always looking forward. Always looking to get the ball, receive it, pass, go, move. He must have covered every blade of grass that night. He was just everywhere.
Just after, we barely get a chance to settle down to a 1-0 lead, and McGregor just a total brain fart, I think. One, he's miskicked it, and 2, he's not even noticed the guy there. And that's the difference between European football and domestic football, is you will 9 times out of 10 get punished, whereas in Scottish football, maybe 4 out of 10 you would get punished for that. You know, it was just as soon as he gave it away, you just knew this is a goal. I've seen people criticise Laxalt. I think he probably could have done better, but but there's an angle that shows you that the guy's actually a fair bit of distance. You know, there's maybe 5 yards between them. It just, from one angle, it looks as if he's just right behind him and gave up. He was never getting in front of the guy ever. Or he could have probably put a bit more pressure on him, but I think that was going to be difficult to stop at any one time. And I thought, well, you know, McGregor's just not having a great time at the minute. He's looking, you know, a shadow of his former self almost, you know. And then sure enough, we get the penalty. Frimpong, it was another good ball through for Turnbull. Frimpong goes to take the shot, kicks the guy's foot, who's trying to sort of clear the ball. Penalty. And I thought McGregor, I think, did Turnbull not pick it up to take the penalty? I
can't remember from that. No, I can't remember.
I think somebody volunteered to go for it, but McGregor's just grabbed it and tucked it away unbelievably well.
Mm-hmm. It's a great penalty, and that's what you're expecting from your captain on that night, and shows responsibility and shows guts to go back up and, you know, get back on side and, you know,
it's an immediate amends, isn't
it? Make amends for your mistake, and you can't say that he didn't. So I mean, great penalty. It didn't help that my mum walked across the TV right at that point when the penalty was getting taken, but I've told her off for that at this moment in time. But it was a good penalty.
It was tremendously stuck away. You knew where he was putting it, but it's just the accuracy and the pace that he put on it. The guy was never getting there. I mean, I think what stuck in my mind was the fact that McGregor said a few weeks ago that any time we concede a goal, we feel as if, you know, oh, here we go again. In fact, I think it might have been last weekend he spoke about that. So it just showed a bit of mental toughness. I always felt we needed a third because Leo are just a really good side with really good players. But the goal, I didn't think there was much wrong from our point of view. I mean, the header could have probably went maybe left or right rather than straight out. But it's a good ball into the box. But Timo Weahrs took it well, hadn't he?
Caught it beautifully in his left foot, and there's not much Hazard could do about it. And I think you could see the frustration in the defence as if to say, fuck, you know, because we were doing okay. You know, there was nothing really out there. But to be fair to him, I think he was happy to score, but then also forgot that, or just remembered that he used to play for Celtic. And
I hate all that stuff. Honestly, I mean, I tweeted. You've seen that GIF for The Simpsons where Grandpa Simpson walks into the strip club and he notices Bart's on the door and he walks straight back out. I tweeted that was basically Timo Weahrs' time at Celtic, you know, and he's apologising for fucking scoring a goal. Give me a break, man. I mean, the guy seems like a nice guy and he seems passionate enough and all that, but just celebrate. I mean, the team you're playing first paid $10 million for you, you know, just go on with it. But, aye. And then you're thinking, oh man, here we go. Is this we're going to peter out to another draw? Or we really need a win just to have a win, you know, and get rid of that stat that's piling up every week. And then you've got Christopher Twinkle Toes Ayer down the right hand side, you know, with a couple of stepovers. I heard somebody mentioning that his stepover looks like him trying to mount a small dog.
I mean, it was a great movement. I mean, I thought when he turned back on himself, I went, oh, here we go, this is going out. And then you're thinking, oh, here we go. And before you know it, he's got to the byline and it said, no bad ball in. And then Turnbull's there. And Turnbull finishes it greatly. You know, not smacking it right down the middle. It is placed into the bottom left-hand corner. And you can see that he was so happy to get a goal because that's what you're wanting from Turnbull, you know. And it was just great to see. And at last, that kind of goal looked as if, you know, they all looked like really happy for each other, you know, like Moy was all over Ayer and hugging him and brilliant, and it was great to see for a change, you know. And then Lennon's kind of kicking every board kind of celebration at the end, you know. It was kind of good to see, you know. We're fresh.
I heard some comments about, oh, Lille turned up, you know, with the second string and all that bollocks. And I had a look at their team against us versus the team that they played against Bordeaux. I think it might have been the week before, and there was maybe 3 changes. You know, you're like, that's not. I mean, it was like when we played Bayern Munich and lost 2-1, and it turns out they were saying Bayern Munich B team, and it turns out 8 of their players went on to fucking, you know, play most of the fucking group stage. You know, just.
I know, people will look for anything people will look for anything just to discredit it, but it doesn't matter who it was coming from. We needed a win no matter what,
exactly.
whether it was fucking
We were
Gretna
playing a team
2008 or
better than
them,
any team that we play week in, week out in Scotland. That's all I know. And it was a great win. The team definitely needed it. Lennon absolutely needed it more than anybody. Leading up to the game, though, he made comments about making changes and and somebody mentioned about needing a win and stuff. But he totally played down the needing a win part. It was almost as if he'd accepted that this team might not actually win. I don't know if he had or no, but I'm just surmising here. But the way he was speaking was almost as if he didn't think we were going to win, so he was using this as an opportunity to throw players in, so it wouldn't count towards the bad run that they're on, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But as it's turned out, he's fell upon a team that didn't give up that many chances to a top quality side, and then took that into the weekend, pretty much the same team, and gave up virtually no chances whatsoever. Just quick word on Clomala before we move on to the Kelly game.
Mm-hmm.
Feel him. He's hard working. He tries hard. Mad. There was a time where I think we were on the break and he chased back all the way back to help out defensively and stuff like that. I just think he lacks a bit of quality. I've heard the comparisons. He's kind of similar to a young Kenny Miller. He's not got the greatest touch. He can finish when given a chance, but I still think he's 4 out of the 4 strikers, if I'm honest.
It's the same things you're hearing with regards to, bundles of energy and blah, 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 but bundles of energy and hard working only gets you so far. You need to have that little bit of quality.
I just think he's lacking in the quality, although he's only really briefly showed the finishing quality against St Johnstone and the first game of the season, I think, against Hamilton. But he's not really shown much in front of goal. But then the service hasn't exactly been great either for the midfield or the wide men. There's a lot of cutting in and shooting, for Frimpong and Elyounoussi. There's not much crossing coming in for the fullbacks or anything. The only cross really that did come in from open play was the Ayer cross that led to a goal. So we're not putting a lot of crosses into the box, and wide three guy, the 2 wide guys in the top 3, the 3 up front, they're cutting in a lot onto their kind of stronger foot. So.
Just to also point out, I thought Ewan Henderson had a great game.
Yes.
Coming on for Frimpong and being played out of position a little bit, has to be said.
He looked comfortable on the ball, didn't he? And he played in Lennon's first game for Celtic. He set up Burke, who then set up Forrest away to Hearts. But we've hardly really seen him since then, and I think that's something that definitely needs looked at, is the Celtic sort of progression from under 21s into the first team. Something, I know this is the seasons of all seasons, and last year was the season of all seasons, and this is where I think the 10 in a row thing is absolutely killing us as a club. I mean, it's like a noose around our neck. As much as it will be amazing if we get it, it's almost, people are too scared to make decisions in regards to youth players or young players, and we might end up losing a few to could cost us the long term. But moving into the Kilmarnock game, it was pretty much the same team. We kept with Hazard in goal, who didn't really have much to do against Lille, other than maybe the one that the guy was clean through and miskicked it, and he's cleared round about his penalty spot. But his handling was pretty good. There was no... I'd seen people saying you can't drop Hazard. I never really seen enough to keep him in. I still think if you're paying $5 million for a keeper, if there was ever a game the guy needed a clean sheet and was likely to get a clean sheet, then it was definitely Kilmarnock, you know. And I just think that was a chance to build Barkas' confidence. But fair play, we can hear my dogs bark.
I thought Hazard, to be honest, he kind of bossed the defence about a bit at the game at Lyon. To be honest, I've not really seen that much from Barkas. It was something. He's not afraid that he's a young boy, and he's not afraid to say to Julian or Duffy, but what he was doing there. He was able and confident enough to go, well, come on and command his box. And I thought that the last chance at the Lille game where the ball came in, he took it comfortably, didn't make a big deal of it. So I was more than happy to keep him in, but I didn't expect him to stay in.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I'm not upset about it or anything. I'm just thinking as a, you're now on your third keeper. It feels like you're all over the shop with this. You've went Barkas, Bain, Barkas in for 2, out for 2. It just. I know we're a while off transfer windows and stuff like that, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Fraser Foster in goal at Ibrox on the 2nd of Jan.
Well, the way this season's going, who knows? But I can't see it. Foster coming back, I just can't. I know there's the rumours of monitoring his situation, but I just don't see us when we've paid, as you say, £5 million for a goalkeeper. Now we're giving Hazard a huge deal, and I know that's by the by, but I'd be surprised if Foster was in. I'll put it on just now. I'd be surprised if he was in for Ibrox.
I said to you when when I come on before we started, I've kind of come into my garage, which has not been converted, but it's been kind of turned into a wee mini studio thing. And in here, the boiler, and I think my wife's just started heating on, so it's making a fucking hell of a noise in the background.
I thought that was the kettle getting boiled.
Get the kettle, and I'm going to tell the wife to get the heating off. I wasn't overly upset about Hazard being in, but I just think it makes it look all over the shop a wee bit. So yeah,
it's one of those things. We'll need to see how it plays out. I'd be surprised if Hazard's still in for the cup final. No. With going with Lennon's comments, but then who do you go for? Do you go for Barkas? Do you go for Bain? It's back to that. I was a little shocked to see Taylor back in, but then Laxalt has played a lot of games since coming, so maybe a wee rest.
A bruised foot went and said.
I think that was code for a rest, though, wasn't it? Really. but
the Kelly game, I mean, Hazard had very little to do, and what he did do, he done very well. Duffy probably had his best game in a Celtic shirt. Defensively, I think he won most of his duels and tackles and headers and stuff like that. Edward quiet up front again. Although Turnbull set him up with a cracking chance that he missed in the first half. Turnbull and Soro again, solid performances, and making it really hard for the manager to drop them, I suppose. And then what do you call it? Also, the goal comes for El Yunusi, and
which I thought was Duffy at first. I thought, he's got a touch on it, and but it was actually not.
Yeah.
But what a good header by Duffy as well.
That was amazing.
Absolutely powerful header. It was great to see, and I think he done well. And it was a nice touch by Ayer, to say that Duffy deserved the man of the match more than him. And it was good to hear Duffy's comments saying he knows himself he's been shite. He didn't really come out and say that, but said it in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
Great to get the 3 points. Finally, I know. I
was hoping that they would drop something up at Dundee United. I mean, they scored twice for 2 set pieces. So they're no. They could have battled them, but I was hoping that Dundee United might have sneaked something. It would have just sort of set off the weekend. I've just got this thing in my head that if Celtic can keep winning up to the derby, I think Rangers will drop points between now and then. And I know they don't look like dropping anything at the moment, but I just think right now Celtic, it's just one. It's just take one game at a time. Don't think, we need to win 10 games in a row or whatever. I think you just need to keep winning the next game, and we'll see where it takes us.
That's all you should do, and it's any season. That's all you should do. You should never think ahead. It's always next game. Win the next game. It should never just be. But as you say, it's back to the whole. It's the news from the club's night. We need to win. But no, just get the next game out of the way. Keep the same team. Keep Turnbull and keep Soro in. It's refreshing,
Well, that brings us on to the comments at the end of the game, where a question was asked to Neil Lennon. You've got players that are now sort of giving you selection problems for the cup final. And then Lennon makes the comments about, these guys, there's guys that have got us to, the cup final that deserve, their place almost. And you're like, well, for a start, it's last season's cup final we're playing. And these guys have put you in a position where the board have had to come out publicly and state, that they're going to back you despite calls for your head. and you're ready to turn, you're ready to drop the two guys that have helped create a buzz around the club again, just to get Scott Brown and Ryan Christie back into the team. I just find that absolutely mental.
Sentimentality going straight up the pecking order. That's what it is. I don't see what's wrong with just bringing them on, a couple of minutes ago, if it's going
I wouldn't
well.
be surprised if Christie plays on the right-hand side instead of Frimpong. But to drop Soro for Brown, based on his performances versus Brown's absolute shite 20-odd games of this season, I just find it mental. Brown can get the last 10 minutes if we're winning. I think he was a sub in one of Brendan Rodgers' cup finals against Aberdeen. The one that Christie won is 1-0. I'm sure Brown came off the bench on that one. So, yeah, I just thought, why would
I need to check that.
I just thought, why would you do that? Why would you, why not just say, we'll assess everybody's fitness and stuff like that, and blah blah blah. But why mention about?
He seems desperate to. It's as if I have to give Scott Brown this chance. Well, no, Scott Brown has been not at his best, and that's putting it nicely.
I find it mental.
And I think it kind of all stems from the board are giving Lennox the cup final. We've always kind of said that he's going to get the chance to be the man to potentially deliver the treble from last season, albeit. And then it stems from that to Lennon to give to Brown to be the chance. It needs to change sometimes. So why can you not give the people who have actually kept you in a job, basically, to a certain extent? They've created a buzz about the place, as you say. They're doing well. It's a bit of a kick in the teeth to them.
I just want to apologise to anybody who's listening in and heard that mad noise going on for about 5 minutes there. The wife was obviously cold. I don't know why, because the heating in our house is ridiculous. So I texted her while you were talking. I basically said, can you please turn the heating off? And she texted me back saying, no, I'm fucking cold. So I texted her back saying, well, fine, I'm going to have to go back upstairs to the spare room. Because she moans when I go upstairs into the spare room, because it's between the two kids' room. Mm-hmm. And it's like, the kids need to stay quiet, and I'm like, well, tough. I'm only asking you to stay quiet for an hour, for fuck's sake. It's no, But so I said, right, I'll go in the garage tonight, and then she sticks the heating on, and I forgot the boiler's in here, and it's making a racket. So it's a brand new boiler, I know. So I don't know why it's making so much.
I could just say I never heard one thing apart from at the start, so I'm on
that's fine. It's just in case, because this mic's quite sensitive, it probably picks up. So yeah, 2-0 victory, and we move on. So the next thing on the agenda is the Celtic AGM. I'm just looking up. I know Harry Brady was tweeting from it, so he's some bullet points. So I'm just going through his timeline because it's easier just taking notes. Yeah. There's one here he's wrote PL, obviously Peter Lawwell, and it's got a wee stroke in brackets. We haven't given up. So he's obviously asked a question on the league. I mean, of course, if Celtic win every game from now to the end of the season, they win the league. That's a fact. Mm-hmm. Now, are we going to win the remaining 23 games of the season? Probably not.
I don't think so.
No, in the current form. But that's a fact, it's still within our own hands, arithmetically, anyway.
Yeah.
Because if we win our games in hand, we're down to 7 points with 3 derby games to play. So there's the math on that. So I wouldn't have liked to them come out and say, "Oh, it's going to be difficult." So what he said there, I would expect. So what were the? Peter Lawwell mentioned Neil's credentials as a football manager are there for all to see. So we've been questioned about the manager.
I think
Lennon's a very chaotic manager. I think when it's gone good, it's gone brilliant, But I think when it goes wrong, it is car crash stuff. I think we've seen that in his first sort of tenure. Mm-hmm. Losing the league effectively up at Inverness, kicking the bottles and stuff like that, and then, and then the start of the next season we were just miles off it, and he was 3-0 down at Kilmarnock with his job on the line and stuff like that. What'd you call it? And then obviously pulling that back eventually, obviously with the help of Rangers' financial woes. The European stage in his first 2 seasons were disastrous, so to speak. So I just... But then you look at last season, brilliant in Europe, we're cantering the league until it get halted, so he's got his ups and downs, but I think there's no middle ground with Lennon. I think it's either, it's either great or it's fucking car crash, and right now we're witnessing the remains of a car crash.
Slowly rising, maybe.
So we need to find out if it's a write-off or whether it can be fixed, and that's kind of where we're at with him at the minute. So,
the thing
did you pick up in any points for the
AGM? I mean, I think the whole thing about it is it's what one of my mates described as a box ticking exercise for the board. They say that they'll listen to the fans, but I thought a lot of their answers were deflection. Yes. To be honest,
Ian Bankier, who's the chairman, said that he referred to the board as the custodians of Celtic.
Aye.
That's what the Kellys used to call themselves.
Aye.
Back in the 90s and 80s.
Yeah, I picked up on that on Twitter, and I remember reading that comment. It was just... But then...
Board continuity is a good thing, not a bad thing. Aye. Nobody's saying replace every board member every 4 years. But there's got to be a changing of the guard every now and again of the CEO. I think the CEO should be, effectively replaced every 4 or 5 years with a clear KPI. Champions League needs to be hit 4 out of 5 seasons or 3 out of 5 seasons. League titles, now that Rangers are getting back to almost a level footing with us, you could probably say we expect a league title at least 3 out of 5. I mean, I'd like to think we'd win 5 out of 5, but let's be honest, things can happen. Regulars and cup finals in and stuff like that. But that falls on the CEO to pick the right manager. And I don't think Lawwell's got a great record because apparently he was behind the Mowbray and Dyla appointments, and Lennon I think is definitely one of his appointments.
Yeah, it sticks with a sore thumb that Lennon's one of his appointments, because it's cheap. Well, no, maybe not cheap, but it's the British appointment,
Aye.
It's never the kind of higher echelons. Just back to your custodians of the club comment there. I mean, if Ian Bankier's saying that, well, if Dermot Desmond's a custodian of Celtic, can he no bother at least to turn up to one of the fucking AGMs?
He's a I don't think he's actually on the board, does he?
Well, I think he gets re-elected as a non-executive director.
He's a non-exec, but he's got a shareholding that just falls short of having to buy the club outright.
Aye.
And he's had that for about 20 odd years.
And he get re-elected as a but I mean, it's been 99% of the vote.
Yeah.
It's just a mental system. Surely, if you're telling me that 99% of the people agree with how that's going, I just don't think something's not right there. Yeah. I could be wrong, and I don't know much about business, I don't know much about proxy votes and whatever, but I do know that that's just something's not right when 99% of the votes keeping him in.
Comment here, accusation you have fallen asleep at the wheel. Peter Lawwell, absolutely not the case. From July 2019 to September 2020, we spent 35 million. Never spent that big before. But you've also never had £9 million for a manager and £25 million for a left back before.
So they've just basically spent what they earned, Never.
And that's what. And do you know what? I've always felt that that's what we should be. We should be a net stroke profit transfer market club. But we have to be clever in how we go about that. I never expect Celtic to spend 10 million, just every summer without bringing something in. If we sell £40 million worth of players, I would like to think we'll spend 25 to 30 of that in tens put aside, for other shit that needs done in the club, whatever, improve contracts or stuff like that. So that comment, I just find it's easy to say we spent £35 million, but you actually brought in £34 million. So
I know. It was just a figure just to say, oh look, we do spend money.
Well, that's 34 on 2 people we know left. I can't. That's no me counting anybody else who had maybe left during that period. Said they've spoke to the government, still try to get smaller crowds in. They obviously quite clearly don't want big crowds just now. Because
I wonder why.
the comment for Neil Lennon, the lack of fans has affected us more than virtually any club in Europe. I kind of paraphrasing there, I don't think that's exactly what he said, but I find that mental.
Aye, because it's not affected every other club, you know. Every other club just seems to be getting on with it. It might be affecting them, and people might be. But I mean, come on, it's no stopping a certain club over the other side of the river going on an unbeaten run and doing not too bad in Europe and getting a favourable draw.
That's 2 years in a row they've went further than us in Europe, which is scary. So, that's kind of enough of the AGM. I think
but they've not fallen asleep at the wheel, you know, obviously. Yeah. You know, apparently.
Do you know what Peter Lawwell reminds me? You play Football Manager, don't you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've only just really get back into playing Football Manager again. But do you know when you take on a club and you go to, before you do anything, this is what I do before I do anything, I go to the staff and I start to delegate shit. Right, so I go, nah, I don't want that. I don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. So I start hiring technical directors and analytic guys and all scouts and fucking
loan managers, the whole lot.
Loan managers. I go for the full shebang. I want the best of gear in the club, and just leave me to concentrate on picking the team and dealing with transfers. Peter Lawwell, to me, is the guy that goes in and takes everything that's delegated out and puts it on his own name. You know, he wants to be everything. He wants to be the director of football. He wants to be the guy that, you know, helps draw up the transfer list and stuff like that. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to it, but before the AGM on Monday, I went back to 2018 on Celtic Underground's on their podcast page. They had an interview with Peter Lawwell, and if you actually listen back to it versus what's actually happened, it's frightening stuff, especially after what happened in that summer and the balls up at the transfer window. And him talking about, you know, we buy players undervalued potential, put them in the Champions League and then hopefully sell them to England. And you're like, we've been in the Champions League 4 times in 12 years. When does this happen?
It just gets back to he has this pipe dream that he's this kind of jack of all trades of everything that he does and thinks he's brilliant at everything he does, and you know he's had his up and downs the same as every board member probably, but he needs to. I think he just needs the time to move on, and I thought that was going to be it, but it seems to be that there was a staunch defence of him by Mr. Bankier.
Absolutely.
And I don't get it. I mean, Mr. Bankier, I don't have any problems with him, but it's just the way he goes round every person and all the Celtic through and through and the custodian. Oh, please, come on, you know.
Can they run a football club? No, I've always felt that Celtic, the corporate side of the club should be kept separate for the football side of the club. I think the manager and a director of football should have a budget for wages. Now, a wages, obviously, maybe whether it's 40 or 50% or 60% of the club's turnover. A percentage of any money raised in transfer fees, and a wage, you know, what would you call it? You know, a 25 to 35 for your star players, you know, 15 to 25 for your kind of squad players, and then sort of 5 to 15 for your, you know, I'm making numbers up here, but you get my point.
There's categories,
fringe players, so to speak. You know, and this is your budget. You can have 25 maximum players work within it. You know, so spread it evenly, or you know, have 2 or 3 guys that pull you to a higher level, surrounded with guys who are maybe, you know, that are good players, but would work well with 2 fucking high, whatever way you would do it. But I think that I've always felt that that's how Celtic should kind of be ran, and it doesn't feel as if it's ran like that. It feels as if, you know, it's all encompassing. You know, it's all Lawwell's got his fingers in every pie going, so to speak.
I mean, I think like the directors, they just turn up at the AGM or the odd game, and that's what they do. You know, and you know, I don't see them doing much else apart from like the run of the club in certain aspects. But I just think we need young, fresh ideas in there. And it takes something when Sharon Brown is the youngest board member, having been there already 4 years.
Yeah.
When Desmond's been there since '95, Lawwell's been there since 2003, Michael Nicholson's been there maybe 7 years now. Tom Wilson, is it? No. The guy I'm speaking at, what do you call it? Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, he's been there since I was in primary school. It needs to change, you know. And can't just keep going by show of hands, you know.
I mean, it's not a bad thing to have the likes of Desmond as a major shareholder, a billionaire, especially when you're going through a pandemic. So there's no chance of the club getting into any sort of serious bother, and you've got a guy there who can bail us out if required. So I don't have an issue with that. I think the issue comes in. But the thing is, this might be Lawwell's remit. Desmond might say to Lawwell, this is your remit, and Lawwell's carrying it out to the letter of the law. But I just think Celtic, at the minute, have been, for the last few years, we've been happy to be number one in Scotland, and Europe's a bonus. Whereas our rivals across the city have looked at, if we can be really competitive in Europe, and go as far as we can, and build a squad capable of competing in Europe, the league will take care of itself. Because anybody we play in Europe is going to be better than 90% of the teams we play in the Scottish Premiership. And what you're seeing is the fruits of their labour. They've made the last 16 the Europa League last year. They're now into the last 32 this year. 14 points on the board in a fairly decent group. They weren't mugs, Standard Liège, and
Benfica.
And Benfica obviously have spent a shitload of money. So they've looked at it in a way that Europe is their benchmark, and the domestic scene will take care of itself, because if we're competing at Europe, then we should be competing in Scotland. And this is where we've been caught with our pants down, effectively. That's what I think.
I suppose the drawback to that is that you do see that they are running at huge losses.
Of course, but you know what? One Champions League. If they win the league this year and make the Champions League and sell a couple of players, I mean,
I know. Kind of evens itself out, I know.
Aye. But, I mean, they're playing.
Our board have the balls to do that, though.
No. They're playing a high-risk strategy. They could have lost to Galatasaray, and that European thing could have been out the window, but they didn't. They made it, and then they won the group, and now they're going to try and... I hope they go as far as they can. I don't think they'll win it, because the longer they're in it, the more they'll be playing Thursday, Sunday.
Aye.
So,
on them, hopefully.
Because we're at it, let them crack on. Let's move on to some Twitter questions. First ones came from one of your mates at Marty Dyler. Marty Vinucci, is that right?
That's correct, yep.
Yeah. Lennon again bringing up the lack of fans affecting us virtually more than any team in Europe. In my opinion, it's just an easy excuse for him to cling on to at the minute, but can't accept as the main reason when we have been found to be tactically inept. What's your thoughts? Yeah.
Well, I think we've essentially covered that in a way. But
he's tried every system, tried every formation, every strike partner, every goalkeeper, every centre-half pairing, and the last thing he tried was a different midfield combination with two guys that have virtually not played, and all of a sudden we're starting to get results. Aye.
Amazing what you can do when you take Brown out of it and throw sentimentality out the window.
I think McGregor looks a different player without Brown, because I don't want this to become a Brown and bashing thing again, but as we've been saying since the start of the season, Brown has his place, but for me that place is on the bench, coming off the bench last 10-15, whether to help seal a game or to help with guys getting a rest and get him getting a run out, because I just don't think he's got the legs or the ability anymore, unfortunately. I think in his mind he knows what he wants to do, but physically he can't.
And as we keep saying, there is nothing wrong with it.
Another one here, Dom CFC67, his Twitter account is Shiv at Shiv1888. Edward's form and lack of interest. Has his head already left the building? Do we cash in January or let him plod along until the summer? We need a quality striker who wants to be here, who's up for the fight. Eddie doesn't look as if he's in it for the slightest. I kind of agree. If a bid comes in of a certain value that matches what the club's sort of looking at, or hoping for, I'd probably take it. I think his mind is half out the building. I don't know for a fact. Whether we invest that money properly back into the team's another question. But right now, he's just a million miles off it. So I think he's got the next 4 games plus the game at Ibrox I think if we come out of that game at Ibrox defeated, I think he might be sold.
I see it as slightly different than that. Like, we know that this season, at the end of this season, there's going to be a major overhaul. We know that he's probably going to go then. So if we can just maybe see how he goes from there, keep him, because he is the player that can win you a game and pick something out of nothing when he's on his game.
Yeah.
You know, and it would be better to have that option in this, in inverted commas, season of all seasons. So let's just keep it going until the now, and let's rebuild at the end of next season. Start next season, sorry.
Yeah.
R.
Stevenson at Regan Stevenson. How will this treble be received by the fans if Celtic win, considering the league place for Celtic and recent poor run of results? How will it be received?
Oh, it's a tough one.
I don't know. I think I'll answer that question on Sunday late. I think the shite run in Europe and the lack of progress in Europe and then getting knocked out the cup. Do you know what? I'll say this. No many people would. I would give up the cups if I knew that Celtic were going to be really competitive in Europe, as in get in the Champions League, maybe finish third, into the last 32, into the last 16, maybe the last 8. See if we had that on a consistent basis, reaching last 16 Champions League or reaching the last 16, last 8, or even a semi-final Europa League, I would happily forgo the cups for that, because I think that shows. I think if you're doing well in Europe, that's what attracts players. That's where the money comes in. That's what builds your profile as a club. We're always going to be in and around cup finals and semis and stuff like that. I know it's never generally works out that way, because the year we made the last 16 of the Champions League under Lennon, we actually won the Scottish Cup that year. So, I just, in regards to how will this one be received, I think because it should. If it ended in May and we won it when we would have normally have won it, I think it would have been amazingly received. But because it's came in this period, I think it's kind of taking a wee bit of the shine off it a wee bit.
I think it should be remembered for the right reasons. I mean, there's not many teams that will have done, and not many will do a quadruple treble.
Oh, it'll never be done again.
Never will be done again, and it will be interesting to see how. I mean, it's hard to get excited at the moment for it, because I think even in just the way it's been played, it's just maybe not sitting right with fans, and maybe people said, "Oh, it should have been maybe just canned and whatever," but it's been played. It's still a cup final. Celtic are in it, so let's hopefully enjoy it for the right reasons, that hopefully we win.
I think just the lack of, coming mid-season, during a period where we're playing shite, we're not top of the league, we've had a shitter European run. And no fans at the stadium as well. It just doesn't feel the same.
That's the big bit.
I think the no fans thing definitely doesn't make it feel the same, because when you look at maybe the treble winning goal, it just the bedlam and mayhem in the stands and stuff like that just adds to it. It's or the scene Craig Gordon with the fans in the background in the first treble season. That it's the spectacle. Aye. Well, the next question comes from Jazz Tim at _Jazz Tim. He just wrote, Scott Brown, Sunday, play or cameo appearance at the end. For me, it's cameo appearance at the end.
Cameo appearance, got to agree. We've already discussed it. It's got to be cameo. For this, loyalty's got to go out the window. I'm sorry, I know he's your pal, Lennon, but come on.
The boy Piro at Gora Hunters of Numbers. I'll keep it short this week. Lol. Where do you see Celtic in 5 years?
Probably still under Peter Law's stewards. Still surviving another AGM and building 300 feet high fences. I don't know. I mean, that's a hard question. We don't know how this season's going to go. I think it's going to be a very streamlined Celtic.
Yeah.
It could be that this. I think it all depends on how Europe is streamlined throughout Europe, if you know what I mean. It's like we don't know how this kind of cycle of events is going to happen. Like, are we going to be a team that's constantly hitting or getting, just into Europa Conference League almost? Is it? We just don't know. I mean, these sort of questions are hard to answer. But
I think 2024 there's going to be a shitload of changes. I think to the 3 competitions.
Yeah, I mean,
and how that's set up. I mean, Wallwell spoke about it on that pod with Harry Brady and I think it's Paul for By the Minute Celtic. He's talking about obviously they're part of the European sort of thing, try to sort of help, the smaller countries and what they need and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised. This is just a stab in the dark. I wouldn't be surprised if the Champions League was for the top 8 nations, and then from 9 to 20, that's where the Europa League teams come from, and then the Conference League is the remaining countries. So they've all got their own, and countries can move up the coefficients and drop out. I mean, it's unlikely England, Germany, Spain, Italy, and France are ever going to drop out a top 8. But Russia and Ukraine or Belgium or Holland or Austria, whoever's in and around that kind of 7 or 8 spot on the coefficient will come and go in and out, So I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if the group stages are expanded a bit more, where it's maybe 8 teams playing each other twice, and I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think Celtic are going to be part of something. I just think long term in Scottish football is going to be the death of the club, effectively. I think we'll always have a presence in Scotland, but to what end, I don't know. I think COVID has changed the game big time, and we just need to wait and see what the game's going to be.
Well, hopefully we're part of something big, but
we could do a full podcast on this, to be honest. It's hard to answer that. Where do I see us? I'd like to see us still dominating Scottish football if that's where we are, but I want to see us being far, far more competitive in European football.
And I'd like to maybe see a change at board level within 5 years.
Aye. I mean, we were starting to go down. I mean, we tried with Diala to the kind of young, coaching players, making them better. Obviously, he had the right ideas, but not necessarily the gravitas or the tools to get the job done. And we went with Rodgers, a similar manager in style, but just had more about him to get that. And then to go for that to Lennon, old school Martin O'Neill style manager, motivation, it was just seemed like we came off a route that we were going down. To go back to something we used to do. I think this is Lennon's last season as manager, regardless of what happens at the end of this season. I'm interested to see what way we go next.
Well, I mean, if rumours are to be believed, I mean, they're talking about Jack Ross. It's
get to that.
Aye, well, who knows? Yeah. But,
right, well,
yeah,
crack on. We'll crack on. Last question from Liam J. McLaughlin at Larky Boy 85. 85, yeah. What team would you both like to see on Sunday? Also, if we win on Sunday, will it be treated as a great achievement given what has happened with this pandemic? Personally, the Scottish Cup should have been scrapped as soon as it was decided they weren't going to play it at the beginning of the season. I think we're only thinking that last part because we've had a shit time. I think if we were flying at the top of the league, we would have been really looking forward to this for weeks on end, just as something to add to it. Whereas right now, it kind of feels like the Scottish Cup final of 2005, where it was a cup won, but the real battle was lost the week before, so to speak. For me, that's how it feels a wee bit. But in regards to an achievement, it's an unbelievable achievement to win 4 domestic trebles in a row. It's nuts, to be honest. Especially when I think back to when I first started supporting Celtic. I seen Celtic win 1 cup in fucking 8 or 9 years or something. It was mental.
I think with regards to, I mean, it it would be totally different with the whole like if we're flying high and blah blah blah. But the fact of the matter is, as soon as if we win, Nano, within a week, the merchandise that Celtic will try to sell off of this will be mental, and that won't go down well with the fans. Just with how poorly they've communicated with the fans over everything that's happened this year. Then they're just saying, "Oh, but we're quadruple treble, book of the last 4 trebles and etc. etc. etc." I think that won't go down well with the fans if that happens, and I like to think they'd maybe be a wee bit more subtle with that.
I think we have to win it first. Let's win it first,
Yeah,
and then
that's
we'll
what I
see
mean.
how we feel
Let's
next
see
week.
if we win. Let's see.
Aye, because I think Hearts are a Premiership side, dressed up as a Championship team. I think they just had their own manager at their own time.
Players.
They've got a good.
Liam Boyce is a dangerous player on his day.
Naismith as well. So.
Naismith.
Yeah. So that's us for Twitter questions. We'll move on to this week's quiz, where you finished with an 8 out of 10 last week, so I'm up against it big style this week. So this is our 10 in a row quiz, where one of us is asked 10 random Celtic related questions, and we'll see how we get on. And it's for others who are listening in to play along at home, when you're walking your dogs, driving your car, whatever. If you're driving, don't write down the answers because you'll crash.
Just mentally take a note.
Aye, just mentally take a note. So I've got my pen ready here to start writing down my answers. I have not seen these questions, so and I'll flip my phone so I can't be accused of cheating or googling.
I must admit, I tested the questions on the first question tonight from Marty Dyler, and he done very poorly, shall we say.
Right, cool.
So
right, fire away.
First question is, what club did Pierre Van Hooijdonk sign from?
Okay.
And there is no multiple choice with that one.
No, that's fine. Okay. I already know that one.
That's right. Right. Question 2 when you're ready.
Yep, fire away.
Against what team did Celtic perform the huddle for the very first time?
Right, okay.
Okay. Question 3. In a routine away win over Inverness in February 2013, who scored on their debut for Celtic that day?
Yep.
Right. And this is a multiple choice question. So, Craig Burley scored how many goals in his debut season of 97-98? And is it A, 15, B, 17, or C, 19?
That's a good question. All right.
Number 5, Henrik Larsson scored 53 competitive goals in season 2001/01. Who was the first goal scored against in the league?
Who was his first goal in the league that season against?
Yeah.
Yep.
Question 6. Celtic sold Artur Boric to which club after his spell at Celtic?
Yep.
And then question 7. How many goals did Georgie Cadet score in season 96-97? Was it A, 30, B, 33, or C, 36?
Yep.
Question 8. Who scored the winning penalty in the 11-10 shootout victory over Dundee United in January 2009?
Oh, man.
That was a freezing cold night. I was at the bottom of the very front row of Hampden that night with paper balls off.
Oh. Right, okay.
Question 9. How many goals did Celtic score overall in the invincible season of 16-17? Was it A, 103, B, 106, or C, 116?
Fuck. I'm caught between two answers on that one.
I was
right,
shocked.
Okay. Right.
And then question 10. In this 98/99 season, Celtic crashed out of the Champions League qualifiers to Croatia Zagreb. But who did they beat in the previous round?
Oh, you're a fucker. Oh, man. Oh, Jesus. Oh,
It's often forgot about that one.
I know. Okay.
Right.
I've not wrote an answer down for that, but I'm going to hopefully have it by... I'll have an answer.
Right, okay.
Right, go. Right.
So go for the answers now then?
Go for the answers, aye.
Right. So question 1 was NAC Breda.
Yeah. No, you need to ask me so I can tell you.
Oh, sorry.
It's NAC Breda.
Right.
Aye. Because I could just turn around and say, aye, that's what I've got.
Right. So, fuck that one, right. So what club did Pierre Van Hooydonk sign from?
NAC Breda.
There we go.
I think it was 1.25 million we signed
It
off.
was, aye.
That was at his debut against Hearts.
Hearts,
aye.
aye.
Right at the top corner, aye.
Against what team did Celtic perform the huddle for the very first time?
Oh, God. I've wrote down Falkirk, but I think I'm wrong.
It was Emden Kickers in a friendly.
Fuck my mate, you know what?
It's the very first game of the huddle.
Oh, man.
Piece of history.
Okay.
Who scored on their debut against Inverness in February 2013?
Remy Gershon.
Superb answer, well done.
Yeah.
Craig Burley scored how many goals?
I wrote 15.
Correct.
Yeah.
Larsson scored his first goal in the league against who?
Dundee United.
Correct.
Because my old neighbour scored the equaliser for Dundee United that day.
McCracken.
David McCracken. Yeah.
McCracken. I was in Santa Ponsa watching that game as I was a very young boy. Who did Celtic sell Artur Boric to?
Fiorentina.
Correct. How many goals did Georgie Cadet score?
I'm going to say 36.
33, I'm afraid.
Motherfucker.
33 goals and 44 appearances. Who scored the winning penalty in the shootout over Dundee United?
I'm going to say Boric, but I don't think it is.
Scott McDonald.
Ah, right, okay.
He was the one just before. He was one just after Boric, because they were the last ones. Then it went to Willow Flood, and then he lost, and then etc. etc. How many goals did Celtic score in the Invincible season?
116.
It's 106. It's the exact same as the points.
What's that, you bastard?
It's the exact same. And then the last question is, Celtic lost to Croatia Zagreb, and who did they beat in the previous round?
This is a total wildcard guess. I can't even remember. I can't even remember who we played before them. I'm going to say St. Pat's of Ireland.
That is the correct answer.
You fucking dancer. I was thinking it was either a Welsh team. I was thinking Bangor or something like that. And then I was thinking, or an Irish team. And St. Pat's just fucking was in the back of my head for some reason. So
St. Pat's.
Aye. Oh, I've not done as well as you, so I'm going to up the fucking ante on you next week, man. So I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 10.
Still not bad. You know?
Aye, the huddle one was a cracker. I would never have got that. The 100. I was thinking. I knew we had 106 points in the treble season, and I was thinking that can't be the same as the goals as well. That's why I went with a 116. The other ones, Boric, I just couldn't remember who else was playing that night, but I remember he scored obviously quite late into the shootout. And the George Cadet one was just like, I knew it was 30 something anyway, so it was just a guess. So I got some of the harder ones though.
I mean, I didn't think you would get the Rami Gershon because not many people remember him.
Aye.
You know what I mean? That was, I think Lennon changed the team to a team of reserves that day, from what I remember.
Aye, well done. That was good. It racks the old brain. It gets the old mind ticking.
You know when you're saying "you motherfucker" to someone, you're going,
aye. Hijo de puta. Aye. So before we finish, I'm going to finish. I've got a audio montage of the 2016-17. It's only a couple of minutes long. You've heard that. I sent it across to you tonight. So please stick about if you want to listen to that. The reason for that, obviously, we're going for our 4th treble in a row, and for me, the 2016-17 treble was the best, not only that Celtic have ever done, but I would say in the history of Scottish football, of any trebles ever done, just domestically. I know the 67 team obviously went on to win the European Cup, but I just think for a team to actually go undefeated on every competition, scoring 106 goals, 106 points, smashing Rangers numerous times, I think it was just tremendous stuff. If I was alive in 67, I might have said different, but I didn't live it. So I lived through the 2000-2001 treble season, and I think the 2 trebles that have came after this have been good, but this one was, I just remember that final day against Aberdeen was just, I was a bag of nerves, man. I was a wreck by full time. It was just amazing stuff. So I've put together some audio with some background music, which got us into the talking about movies at the start of the show. Just to, I've got something coming up on the Paul John Dykes quadruple treble thing. It's going to be around the trebles that we've won, so we'll get into a bit more depth. But just some words for yourself on that treble season. Sorry, the 16-17 season.
Yeah, I mean, it was just filled with excitement from day one when Brendan Rodgers was announced manager. I always remember it. It was the Friday of just before the cup final when Rangers were playing Hibs, and it just completely took the shine off of their big day out. And when we announced him, and then the welcome that he got, and then there was just such a buzz just to see what was going to happen and who we were going to sign and how we were going to go about it, and to get into the Champions League for the first time in a few years, and take Man City 3 each and 1 each at, both home and away, and okay, we maybe lost to Barcelona, but played some great football, had some great. I mean, Scott Sinclair was on fire that season.
It's probably the best football I've ever seen Celtic play.
Mm-hmm. Some of it was just
maybe the treble season under Neil's first season was different style, but it was very aggressive, whereas this was more cultured. It was more European style that we played. It felt like under Rodgers, it was just start to finish that season was just a joy to behold. But we're going to get into the 3 trebles that we've done in our show on the Celtic State of Mind charity weekend. So stay tuned for that. Yep. We'll put out details of when we're on, but obviously there's 2 12-hour programmes that Paul's running. I can honestly, why is he called Paul John? Just can we change it to John Paul? Sorry.
What's that like, John Paul the Pope anyway?
Yeah. So just if anybody wants to subscribe to, I've got a Facebook channel for Celtic End Podcast. We've got the Twitter page. If you want to follow yourself, it's at WeKev1888. Myself, I am at the Celtic End Pod. We're on iTunes, Android, Spotify, TuneIn, Facebook, YouTube, all the usual places that you can find your podcasts on. If you want to even want to leave us a review, which helps get us out there. But I'm going to say thanks again for your time. It was good discussion, good quiz, and I'll catch you again next week, mate.
Yep, see you next week, mate.
Right, so anybody still here, stay tuned for what's coming up. You're going to enjoy it. See you next week.
Let me tell you, news just into us this afternoon, and we are just hearing from Celtic. We understand in the last few moments that Celtic have appointed Brendan Rodgers as the new manager of Celtic.
Celtic's one of the biggest clubs in the world. This is one of the great clubs of the world. It's an institution in its own right. So for me to come here, it's a huge honour and a privilege to be able to come and manage Glasgow Celtic.
And Sinclair's made a great run through the middle here, so's Forrest. Sinclair waiting! That's the way to announce your arrival! Lustig. Rangers exposed and struggling to get back here. Dembele! He's done it! Wallace just losing Griffiths. And there goes a pass for Celtic, Dembele! Forrest trying to find the angle. Brilliant. He succeeds. What a goal by James Forrest. Celtic are destined for the 100th major trophy.
Forrest finds Rogic. Celtic still looking likely. Rogic! They're looking very likely. And trust him to score that goal. The game of the season takes a tantalising twist as Tom Rogic puts Celtic in front for the first time today. The champions' response. Roberts easily away from Mackay. There's the switch. And there's the goal for Scott Sinclair. The champions have turned it around. And that will really, really hurt Rangers. Supported here by McGregor. Talk about laying down an early marker. Callum McGregor scores. And Celtic, crucially, have an early lead in this Scottish Cup semi-final. Lustig, Celtic fancy a fifth. Carl Lustig certainly does. What a tiny finish. A pulsating performance from Celtic. They have well and truly put Rangers in their place. Griffiths having a look around. And it's Armstrong to make sure of things. History in the making.
Is there to be a late winner this time around? Here's Rogic. 2 to play. It's Tom Rogic! Celtic order the treble! And it is about to be duly delivered in the most spectacular and dramatic fashion!
Bobby Madden blows his whistle. It's a green and whitewash. It's an astonishing achievement in Brendan Rodgers' first season in charge. As easy as 1, 2, 3. A treble for Celtic.